Welcome to the Filipino American Woman Project, also known as TIFA Project for short, a podcast show that features stories and life lessons told by American women of Filipino descent. We're your co-hosts, Jen Amos.
And I'm Nani Dominguez.
And thank you for joining us.
If today's conversation resonates with you, text us and let us know at 415-484-8329.
And if you want to show us some love, buy us boba at buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani.
It says coffee, but we love boba. Again, that's www.buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani.
Awesome. With that said, thank you all for your love and support.
Now let's get into the show.
All right. Hello, everybody. Jen Amos here, your creator and co-host, or currently host, of the Filipino American Woman Project. And what do you know? Another solo episode. Actually, I wanted to mention that Nani did want to come back on. She did want to do this episode with me. But by the time you listen to this episode, I will already be in a different time zone. And I knew that I wasn't going to have the time to schedule something with Nani to do a recording in time to have this available for you all today on this beautiful Friday morning. So Nani, I'm sorry. And also, this is my way of encouraging Nani to continue to, focus on this new chapter of her life of motherhood and raising little hero. So if this is your first episode, to get some context on this solo episode today, I encourage you to go back to episode 120, which came out 2 weeks ago, August 20th, 2021. And this episode 120 on August 20th, 2021, which is titled, Acknowledge the Loss That May Have Propelled You to Seek Out Something New to Begin With, a Shaken Foundation, keynote speech, and showing up anyway, with yours truly. And like I mentioned, if this is your first time listening to the show, I highly recommend taking a listen to that to get some context in regards to where I'm at right now, why I'm doing a solo episode, and why I'm continuing to do a solo episode for today. So the truth is, I am in the thick of things in regards to what is going on in my life right now. And part of why I'm doing this solo episode is I'm hoping that today's episode, I can find the words with you all as I focus on you today, the listener. I finally have a window of time where I can catch up on old emails, messages, voice messages. Thank you guys for the voice messages. You know who you are. I had some time to really just sit down and catch up with everything and everyone. And I want to do my best to summarize and thank a lot of you who have been engaging with us for this year, especially the ones who have probably been waiting to hear from us for months now. So this is that episode. This is the episode where I am going to comb through all the messages and make sure I acknowledge as much people as I can to say thank you, I love you, we love you, Nani and I, and, kind of go from there. So part of why I'm doing this today is, one, I feel like it'll help me find the words to hint at you, I guess, what's going on in my life and how I'm processing everything I'm going through. But also, and I mentioned this in my speech that you can hear the replay of back in episode 120, I quote the author Sebastian Junger from his book Tribe, Tribe. And there's a quote in there that I mentioned where he talks about the importance of community and the importance of being needed. We as human beings don't just want to feel seen in a community. We want to feel needed. We want to feel like we can contribute. And honestly, it's your engagement throughout these months, these messages that I finally have a chance to get back to that make me feel needed right now. So thank you. I want to remind you that you can continue to engage with us by shooting us an email, Jen, Jen, at tifaproject.com. That's TFAW, as in the Filipino American Woman Project.com, or also Nani, Nani, at tifaproject.com. And of course, you can shoot us a text message or a voice message at 415-484-8329. Like I mentioned, we may not get back right away, but I hope that in today's show, you'll appreciate the time that at least I took to catch up with all of you and, get up to date with all of your messages. But that is how you can continue to engage with us moving forward. And so I can't thank you all enough for your patience, your support. I've definitely had listeners that say, hey, don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty for not getting back to me on time. You don't owe me anything, which I also really appreciate as well. So thank you all for your continuous support. All right. Well, before I get into your feedback today, before I get into shout outs to you all specifically, I have a couple of announcements. So I had a recent listener point out that our episodes are not coming out at the time that she typically expects. And so just so you know, we typically strive for the Filipino American Women Project episodes to be released Fridays at 3 a.m. Pacific time and 6 a.m. Eastern time. Really, I like to get it out at 6 a.m. Eastern time because at the time that I would be producing the shows, I lived in Eastern time. And so naturally, I would, tell people I want it out at 6, but Pacific time, it would be 3 a.m. Now, again, if you listen to my speech back in episode 120, I have been in a couple different time zones in the last couple of weeks. So all that being said, that is the reason why the episodes may come at odd times. You might notice that, oh my gosh, it's coming out at midnight. Like it never comes out this early. Or, oh my gosh, it's coming out later than I expected. I am dealing with a couple of different time zones right now. That's why. But I do want you to know, in general, especially as I navigate this interesting season of my life right now, we are dedicated to releasing an episode every Friday. So we are dedicated to releasing an episode every Friday until the end of October of 2021. Oh my gosh, what do you mean? Well, starting November of 2021, Nani and I have talked about this and we decided, and this is still experimental, no promises. Maybe we might change our mind between now and November. But as of right now, we have decided that starting November, after Filipino American History Month, we're going to go on a winter break. Now, there is an exception to the rule. If you want to see some episodes coming out starting November, come out still on the Filipino American Woman Project during our quote-unquote off-season, the way to make that possible is to support us on biasboba.com. So on biasboba.com, for every 20 cups of boba that we get between now and October, we will commit to doing a special episode in the off-season after November. So let me say that one more time. And this is our plan as of right now. It might change, but this is our plan as of right now. Starting November, we are going to go on a winter break, essentially. But if you want us to continue to produce episodes during the winter break, you can support us on biasboba.com. So for every 20 cups of boba that we get, doesn't have to be directly from you, although if it does, thank you. But for every cup of boba that adds up to 20 cups of boba on biasboba.com, between now and October, we will commit to doing an episode here on the Tifa Project during the off-season. So I think I repeated that twice. I hope that made sense. But basically, that is what we are saying. So as we've mentioned many times, Nani and I are going through a lot of things in our personal lives. And so we figured that November would be a great time to, really slow things down and focus on what's going on in our personal lives. However, of course, we want to show up for you if you support us on biasbo.com. So I will include that information in the show notes. I'll continue to bring this up every episode until the end of October. But basically, starting this episode, we are going to start taking count of the cups of boba we will be receiving on biasboba.com. And so let's say, for example, between now and November, we get, let's say, 60 cups of boba. Basically, that means that we will be producing 3 episodes in the off season, right? So there you go, do the math. Every 20 cups of boba will mean a new episode in the off season starting November. All right, so that is exciting. So the next announcement is, it's one thing to support us on biasboba.com by buying us 1 or 2 cups of boba on biasboba.com. But if you actually decide to become a member of biasboba.com, which typically means either you commit an annual payment of support for our show or a monthly payment, you will have access to our exclusive private podcast show, Tsismis with Jen and Nani. So we already have some incredible content on there. We've already released about 10 episodes, I believe, at the time of this recording. And some of the most recent episodes that have been archived have actually come from our Facebook Live shows. So, for example, we have archived Pinay Poetry Slam that we did in July 15th with Justine Ramos and Ashley Lanuza. These are two poets. Justine is the author of Halo Halo Poetry, and Ashley is the author of My Heart of Rice. And so we have archived that Facebook Live show in Tsismis with Jen and Nani. We also archived Clarice and Isabel Aguilera's Champorado cooking show with us that we did shortly after Pinay Poetry Slam back in July. And so if you missed out on those are still available indefinitely, for the lifetime that we do biasboba.com on Tsismis with Jen and Nani, which you can have access to when you become a member at biasboba.com. And as of today, we have a new original content that was also released. So just so you know, every time we release a commentary episode here on the Filipino American Woman Project, we actually release either an archived Facebook Live show or original content on Tsismis with Jen and Nani. So today, what has been newly released on Tsismis with Jen and Nani is actually a recording that Nani and I did where I basically start unpacking my life since I moved out to the East Coast. I have lived here for 3 years now. And, at the time of this recording, I am traveling. I won't get into details on where I'm at, but anyway, I start to unpack my life having, gone from being a California girl to, someone living in the East Coast and really adjusting and experiencing that culture shock of, let's say going from 1 to 2 seasons a year to actually the full 4 seasons of every year. And, getting adjusted to the culture and the people and all that stuff. And so I start to unpack my life in the East Coast with Nani in today's episode. And I'll continue to do that and catch up with her candidly on Tsismis with Jen and Nani. So if you really, really want to know the Tsismis with Jen and Nani, what is going on with our lives and everything and anything else that we want to share that we typically don't talk about on the show, once again, I recommend that you join us as a member on biasboba.com and you will get access to our private podcast show, Tsismis with Jen and Nani. All right, and with that said, I'm now going to focus on you. That is all the announcements I have to share. I now want to take this time to focus on you specifically and give shout outs to people who have been engaging with us for the last couple of months. And it's only now that I'm able to, get back to some of these messages. So I'm going to be a little all over the place here. So really what I'm doing right now is I am going through your messages and taking a minute to respond to you directly, especially if you message us, and trying to formulate that to share with all of you on the show today. So you can't tell, you're going to hear the final piece of this, but I'm actually pausing to read and process and reply and then share with you, the listener, my general take on each person that we have engaged with. So you're welcome. The first thing I want to share is that everyone reaches a certain season of their lives where they want to understand themselves better. This could be because new information or an experience came into their life that had prompted them to look at themselves. This could be feeling like you're going through an identity crisis or what have you. There's going to be more examples that I'll bring up in today's feedback. But the common theme I have found so far in listening to everyone's feedback is that you're so grateful that you have a show like this that doesn't make you feel alone. And I want to thank our community as a whole for our past guests and, people who have contributed to the show to collectively help every single one of us not feel alone. So whatever season you are in now as you listen to the show, I just want to say that I'm glad you're here. And also, it's kind of funny because sometimes people reach out and say, oh, I haven't listened to your show in a while. And I just want to let you know, I don't take any offense to that. You can listen to one show and still talk to me. I think that the show is, for some people, you're meant to find it at a certain season in your life, and you're going to listen to a couple of episodes, and then you're going to, reach a level of clarity and feel fine with yourself and be able to move on. And that's okay. I just hope that when you do find the show and you do listen to it or you continue to stick to it, I hope that it continues to serve you or it served you to the point where you felt like you can continue to move on with your life. So yeah, I just thought I would put that out there and mention that is we're so glad that whatever season you're listening to the show, we're just glad that you're here. And I hope that you know that because you don't feel alone in your experiences, it reminds me that I'm not alone either. So thank you. All right, so the first person I want to give a shout out to is Melissa M. So Melissa, I'm going to honor your last name by not trying to butcher it and not pronounce it, but I will spell it out so you know that I'm speaking to you directly. Melissa, Majadas. So I'm only going to give you a snippet of what she had shared with us. She shared, I come from a mixed family and was raised with little to no Filipino culture. As a result, I have struggled with major identity crisis that has turned my world upside down. Finding your podcast and listening to the stories of like-minded women experiencing similar feelings has been life-changing. Again, thank you. Melissa, thank you so much. And I just replied to your last email that I totally did not reply to back in March, but it's a very long one and you should have received it by now. So I hope that that makes up for, us not being able to respond in these last couple of months. But also I want to give a shout out to you, thank you and your husband for your service in the military. Thank you for sharing a snippet of your life with me. And thank you. I just want to say thank you. And thank you for being a listener of the show. I hope that since we last spoke, you gained more epiphanies or you found more clarity about yourself, whether it's listening to the show or just anything else that has gone on in your life in the last couple of months. So thank you so much. All right, the next person I want to give a shout out to is Dr. Adeline Kananan Liang, who I actually had the chance to meet in person a long time ago, actually. Like I'd say a year and a half ago, the last time I had a chance to visit San Diego. But she is actually episode 27. So she was on our show some time ago, November 5th, 2019. And I just wanted to publicly thank you, Adeline. She actually shot us an email from our newsletter. Thanks to Nani and working on our weekly newsletter, we were celebrating our 100 episodes a couple months ago. And so, Adeline, thank you for, shooting us an email and congratulating us on our 100th episode. It is quite crazy to believe that we are already at episode 122 since that 100th episode. Like so much has happened, has changed, has shifted, has gone on, since episode 100. I mean, like I mentioned, we are 10 episodes into our, exclusive podcast show, Tsismis with Jen and Nani now. Just so crazy to acknowledge how much time has flown by since episode 100. So thank you so much for, congratulating us via email. Just wanted to make sure I give you a public shout out for that. And also, I hope you're doing well. If you want to learn more about Adeline, check out our episode 27, which is titled, You Are Your Dad's Only Daughter. He Cannot Lose You. Living Her Father's Values in Her Own Way with Dr. Adeline Kananan Liang. And I know, Adeline, you had sent us a voice message after the fact to share your thoughts after that interview, which we had mentioned in an episode later. I honestly don't remember which one that is. I'd have to really dig through the episodes. But, just thank you for your continual conversation even after that interview oh so long ago. All right, this next shout out is to Melanie Violan, Violan, who actually emailed us back in June 11 when Nani released a newsletter talking about just acknowledging how things are starting to open up again in certain states and how it almost seems like this pandemic was a dream for some of us. We couldn't believe that all of a sudden people are out and about again, acting as if like a pandemic didn't happen or, it just feels like things are back to normal. And Nani had reminded us all in this newsletter to remember what the pandemic taught you. And so shout out to Melanie who shot us a reply to that newsletter. Great message. Thank you for the reminder to remember what the pandemic taught you. And it is quite interesting in following the states and seeing some do the mask mandate again or some deciding not to have the mask mandate. I'm curious to know, to our listeners, to you that is listening right now, have you learned anything new since things started to sort of get back to normal again, or maybe they're not feeling normal again? It's just such a weird time, isn't it? It's like, are we on or off? Like, what's going on here? But, either way, I do want to acknowledge how difficult this time also has been as well. And so either way, if you had learned anything, maybe any new lessons in these recent months, we'd love to hear from you. Remember, you can text us at 415-484-8329, or you could also email us at jen@tifaproject.com or nani@tifaproject.com. So thank you, Melanie, for that message. All right, so I am just going through my emails. I feel pretty good about just, going through all of these and making sure that I am acknowledging everyone's message. Also, one of the emails prompted me to go onto our YouTube channel. So I want to give a shout out to Rachel, who we've given many shout outs to, and probably more to come because I know, Rachel, I am behind on getting back to your messages. But just a shout out to you. Something that I always overlook are the messages that we get on YouTube. So I want to thank you all who do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you can get the direct link on our website, tfaproject.com. That's tfawproject.com. But Rachel says here, great to see you both on camera. This is for episode 118. Actually, this was the last episode that Nani and I did together before she gave birth. But Rachel shares here, great to see you both on camera, Jen and Nani. Interesting to hear about the slogan for Virginia on the hat, because I was wearing my Virginia is for Lovers hat at the time that I was doing this video recording with Nani. And she had shared here, maybe I should get a hat for myself for Texas. Don't mess with Texas. And then other things that she mentions here is, Jen, I seriously want to see your champorado. Of course, I do owe you all a champorado, so I will keep you updated on that. Bonus points if you take pics or videos of you eating it. Yes, when I get to that, sure, I will do that for you, Rachel. But yes, always appreciate you constantly engaging with us and sharing our content and advocating for our show. Really, really, really appreciate it and really appreciate you. She also shares, I really do enjoy the podcast and all the work that you do. You're all fun and it's different and a change from all the business stuff that you listen to. So thank you so much, Rachel, for choosing us as one of those shows that is so different from the content you are already consuming. It means so much that we can add some fun in your life. So thanks for listening. All right. So the next person I want to give a shout out to is Michelle Whirl, who was on our show back in episode 109, which was published June 4th, 2021. Her episode was titled, Don't Let Others or the Color of Your Skin Get in the Way of Proudly Identifying as Filipino. Biracial Identity Crisis, Long Distance Relationships, and Being Raised by Single Filipino Moms with Michelle Whirl. So we actually had her other sister who was also on our show in the past, April Whirl, in which you can listen to her episode back in episode 94, which was published February 19th, 2021. So, shout out to the Whirl sisters. Michelle, you had sent a long voice message or a couple of audio messages through our phone number, 415-484-8329. And I'm not going to disclose it all to everyone, but I just want to thank you for leaving us a couple of messages and clarifying some of the things that you had shared with us in your interview back in episode 109. It's interesting because I would say that sometimes we do have guests listen to their show and message us afterward and this is just for a lack of better term, to critique how they spoke. And my comment on that is, when people come back and mention, they apologize for certain things that they said or wanted to clarify, what they actually said, I just want to take this moment to acknowledge how amazing it is that you as a guest decided to be on our show. And despite how much you prepared for our show, because if you listen to Michelle's episode, we had talked about how she had filled out our guest application so many times. And even well afterwards, she is, sending us these messages about, how she kind of wished she could have done things differently or said things differently and what have you. But all the more reason to congratulate you for, just your willingness to show up on our show so open and candidly. The reality is, if you're a listener and you have never been on our show or you have never heard your voice on a show, it really is unnerving, to go back and hear your voice and be like, first of all, you're like, is that my voice? That's how I sound. That's what I said. And so, all the more reason to just congratulate you and honor you and celebrate you for showing up anyway. And it really, truly does take a lot of courage to put yourself out there and show up, flaws and all. So yeah, to the listener who has been, following us for quite a long time, who has yet to be on the show because would love to have you on the show, but it does take a lot of courage to show up. And I feel fortunate for someone who, has produced over 500 interviews in the last 2 years to have grown used to hearing her voice. But I definitely remember in those initial stages of recording these and hearing myself talk and be like, oh, I can't believe I say that too much or whatever. I get it. And so, Michelle, I know that you wanted to explain yourself to us and everything. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up anyway. And I think either way, there's no reason for you to apologize. This was your truth. This was your story in that moment. And I'm just so grateful that you showed up anyway and that you continue to engage with us. So thanks, Michelle. We love you. Also, this is a shout out to Dennis, our editor. Yes, Dennis, please don't edit this out. Michelle just really wanted to express her appreciation to you and your editing skills. You know, Dennis has been with us for quite some time now. I think almost 2 years, Dennis. Like, you let me know. You can private message me later. But, you know, it's really thanks to Dennis that our show and our guests sound as amazing as they do. So Michelle just wanted to let you know how much she appreciated your work. So Dennis, thanks. All right, so next up, just want to give a quick shout out to Charity. We have given you a shout out in the past, but I finally sent you a text message through our phone number, 415-484-8329. I know it's been some time since a number of you have messaged us, but again, I hope that this recording today will compensate. But I also wanted to make it a point to make sure I message you privately, but also give you a public shout out on the show. So Charity, super cool. Just thank you for telling us your batok experience and what it was like to work with Manong Lane to, you know, figure out what kind of batok you wanted on your body and where you wanted it on your body. If you guys want to know what we're talking about, we were referring back to episode 94 when we were talking to April about batok. And also just, you know, shout out to Sapphire, who the last episode she was with us, episode 76, and she had talked a little bit about her experience as well, getting the batok as well. I hope I'm saying that correctly, batok. Someone please correct me if I'm saying it wrong. But anyway, shout out to you, Charity. And really cool just to hear the process and, you know, knowing that it's more than just a tattoo. It's like, at least from what I'm gathering, it's a representation of your heritage, your family history, your lineage, and what have you. So, you know, just really cool to learn about that and appreciate you taking the time via text message, because you did text a lot, which I absolutely loved, you know, to explain all of that to us. All right, moving on through our text messages, in which you can either text us or leave us a voice message at 415-484-8329. And if you're like, Jen, you're being so repetitive, like mentioning these phone numbers or reminding us what the phone number is. So just as a reminder, what I am doing is I am taking the time to pause in between these recordings to read your messages, respond thoughtfully, and then give you a shout out here on the show. So that is part of why I am being redundant here, because I don't know if I said it already. So anyway, this next person, I have to give a shout out to Auntie Grace, who has been messaging us for some time now. She reached out to us in February, and we have shared so much back and forth. We have given her a shout out in the episode or in our shows in the past. And so she recently reached out to us, especially after episode 120, the first solo episode I have done in a very long time. And she had some very kind things to share with me specifically. And I just want to share just a snippet of what we talked about. So shout out to you, Auntie Grace. She was talking about how my keynote speech that I shared in episode 120 reminded her about times where she had experienced feelings of loneliness or abandonment in different aspects of her life. And so she shared a couple of those scenarios with me. So thank you, Auntie Grace, for, you know, doing that. Totally up to you if you want me to disclose it publicly, but it just meant a lot that you felt like you could relate to my story. And also something that you shared is that one thing that you got from the speech is really unpacking where those feelings of loneliness come from or those feelings of abandonment come from. And I'm so glad that in hearing my speech, you realize where that stems from. And now I'm just so excited for you to see how that epiphany will manifest into whatever new community you find yourself in. So please keep me updated. Same with me, you know, I'm going to keep you and our community updated, because I too feel like with everything that I've been experiencing in the recent weeks, my definition of community is ever evolving. And, you know, as the weeks go on, I'm excited to share that all with you as well and what that's going to look like for me as I, you know, travel once again. Yep. So that is it. And so there's more that I said to her, but I'm just going to share that to her privately. But again, thank you, Auntie Grace, for all the way from Hawaii. Thank you again for engaging with us via text message, which you all can do the same at 415-484-8329. All right, moving on to the voice messages that have been left in our phone number. I hope by now you have memorized our phone number. I feel like I've repeated it enough for you guys to be like, okay, Jen, I know the number. It's 415-484-8329. Okay, just stop. I saved it. It's on my phone. If that's the case, then good. I'm glad. It worked. No, the repetition worked. Anyway, I know that I had already communicated with some of these people already, but I do want to give a shout out to Lilibeth, or she also calls herself LB for short, who is currently based in a suburb in Washington, D.C. I don't want to mention the exact location. I'm sure she wants to keep that private. But LB, just thank you for having reached out a couple of months ago. I know that we had a Zoom call to just chat about, where you are at in terms of wanting to start a podcast. I do want to remind our listeners that Nani and I are open to consultation services for anyone that is interested in starting a podcast or has a podcast and just needs more help or guidance or accountability to, have a sustaining show. Here we are, 122 episodes strong, and we continue to keep going week by week. And we have our exclusive podcast show, Tsismis with Jen and Nani. In addition to that, not to toot my own horn, but I guess I might as well, because why not? Sometimes it is good to toot your own horn. But I am also an award-winning podcaster. My podcast show, Holding Down the Fort podcast, did help me get awarded as Media Professional of the Year in 2020. So all that being said, we know a thing or two about podcasting. And so if you are interested in learning more or are looking to get started somewhere, Nani and I are available to, obviously with our current schedules, but we are willing to make time to, give advice should you need it or should you be interested in podcasting. So shout out to LB for your engagement. I hope that you are still listening to the show, and I hope that you're doing well. All right, moving on. I also can't help but give another shout out to Rachel. Rachel, I feel like we keep mentioning you in like every episode now, but we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for leaving me messages everywhere, whether it's a voice message through our Google number, or it's a direct message on Instagram, or it's an email or a Facebook message. You are incredible. You remind me of back in the days when my friends would call me the follow-up queen, because I always just found every angle to follow up with people when it came to, business leads and what have you. But you're awesome. You know that. And I am just grateful to continue engaging with you offline. So thank you so much for your support for our show and just talking to us. We really do appreciate it. Also, I think it's funny that you had to leave 2 voice messages. I just want to let our listeners know, for anyone that chooses to leave a voice message on our phone number, 415-484-8329. I said it again. Just know that if it cuts off, I think that's usually because there's like a, 3 to 5 minute cutoff mark. I'm not sure exactly what time, but I think if you talk for a certain length, it eventually cuts you off. But, feel free to continue to call that number and leave voice messages or text messages. As you can see now, I am doing my best to get back to everyone on this show today. So you're welcome. But just know that we will always eventually respond if I haven't said that a million times already. Okay. Going through the voice messages, the next person I have to give a shout out to is Nani's dad, Uncle Angelo. Uncle left me a very thoughtful voice message because, y'all know how much I like voice messages. But Uncle left me a kind voice message after my episode 120, just reassuring me that he is there for me and that he's available if I just need to get things off my chest. And so, Uncle, I just want to personally thank you for that kind offer. I tend to put myself in positions where I like to give people a safe space to open up. And it means a lot to me when I can create a safe space for people to open up. I guess it's why I love being a podcaster. But to get that reciprocated, I often need to remind myself that I'm allowed to have that as well. Not just in therapy, although therapy is extremely important, but to also know that I can confide in people, in my loved ones, all because they want to do that for me. And so just thank you, Uncle, for that. It goes back to, I'm reminded of our conversation that, we had this exclusive conversation with you on Tsismis with Jen and Nani that was released on Father's Day. And you were talking to us about family and the importance of family. And as my definition of community and family is ever evolving, especially in this time in my life, it's just nice to know that right now you consider me as part of your family. So thank you, Uncle, so much. And I'm excited to continue to open the dialogue with you and Nani and, just share my life with you guys. And I know that, this is an extension to everyone who continues to engage on our show and reach out to us. I also have to give a shout out to Lea Jamin, I believe is how, Lea, please tell me if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, but her last name is spelled Jamin. And Lea has been just a continuous listener and supporter of our show. And she's also been messaging me directly. And so y'all, thank you. It just means a lot. And just like Auntie Grace pointed out in my text message, oh, you have a nervous laugh. I'm like, yeah, I do. That is a nervous laugh. That is a nervous laugh that's trying to prevent tears coming out of my eyes. But yeah, just thank you all so much for your continuous support. I know I keep repeating that like a broken record, but it truly means a lot. And I think part of why I keep saying it out loud is because I need to remind myself that too. I need to remind myself that I have support and that just as much as we are there for you, you all are there for me as well. So thank you all. And Dennis, don't feel like you need to edit this part too much. I don't know. I'm at a loss of words right now, just with the amount of support and responses and messages. And this is the reason why I show up, y'all. Like, this is the reason why we keep showing up on a weekly basis. And yeah. So anyway, before I get way too sentimental and you're like, no, Jen, you should be sentimental, I'm going to get through more messages. All right. So I am moving through the emails now. I hope you all are enjoying this, by the way. You're kind of like, oh, is Jen going to give me a shout out? Is she going to check that email that I sent her months ago? Well, I have to give a shout out to Rachel again because I see another unread email here. Rachel, we love you and I will reply to your email. Also, I haven't brought up this woman's name in quite a while, so I'm going to bring it up. And Stacy, or people who know Stacy that is listening to this, you know who you are, Stacy Salinas. Just wanted to give you a shout out. And you had sent this to us in mid-July. I know it's some time ago, but you finished your exams. So I just want to congratulate you. And to anyone that knows Stacy, it was also her birthday a couple of weeks ago. I'm probably like totally outdated on that. Don't reach out to her right now and say happy birthday because it's already been passed. But Stacy, just, thank you for your continuous support in helping us write the Pinay Podcasters academic paper, which you all can have access to at pinaypodcasters.com. And so it's Pinay as in Pinay, podcasters as in plural. So there's an S at the end, pinaypodcasters.com. But just wanted to say hi to you, Stacy. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going through my emails for y'all and just sharing my thoughts here. And I hope that you all are enjoying this. All right, so this next shout out I want to give out to two particular people, actually. First one is to Dr. Abby, who we just released her episode last week, which is episode 121, which came out August 27th. 2021. So I want to give a shout out to Dr. Abby, who was on our show just last week. Episode 121, The Bamboo Ceiling, has partly to do with us because we hold so closely to our culture, enhancing culture in your local community and practicing respectful assertiveness with Dr. Abby Hamilton. So people like Dr. Abby, and also I want to give a shout out to, in line with her, I want to give a shout out to a Filipino American teen living in California. Shout out to Isabella De Las Alas. And Isabella, please, please, please let me know if I mispronounce your name. But it's people such as Dr. Abby and Isabella who go out of their way and actually ask us what they can do to continue to help our show grow. And so this is not the first time we have had people reach out and offer help. And so I just want to let you know that Nani and I are extremely, extremely grateful. And it's not that we are ignoring you or rejecting you or telling you that we don't want help. It's just that we have a lot of personal matters in our own lives right now. And so just know that, we plan on reaching out to you in the future and really making it more accessible for people such as yourself to contribute to our show. So Dr. Abby, once again, we just interviewed her last week. And also shout out to Isabella De Las Alas. I hope I pronounced that right. I just want to give a shout out to you both and thank you for just your desire to want to help our show. Can't thank you so much enough. And please stay tuned and feel free to bug us. Like if you don't hear from us, feel free to bug us and be like, hey, I want to help. Let me help. If you can do that, like you can do that to me, at least. I'm totally okay with that. But just know that, we have a lot of things going on. We already have a long waiting list of people that we're going to interview on the show. And as you can tell, this episode is going close to an hour now. We have a lot of people to respond to, and we love it. We love it all. And we do want to make sure that we respond to everyone eventually. And just know that we're not doing it because we don't want to. It's just because we have lives. And it does take a lot to put together this weekly show and even for me to do a solo recording. Although if Nani was on here, I know this episode would be like twice as long because I'd always be like, Nani, what are your thoughts? So in a way, I'm kind of being efficient here for this time around. But yeah, just once again, shout out to Dr. Abby and Isabella. Thank you both for just your willingness to want to help. And of course, we can extend that to any of our listeners if you're looking to continue to support our show. The easy way, obviously, that we always say is to support us financially on biasboba.com. That's BUYUS boba. I like how I didn't spell out boba. That's funny. BUYUSBOBA.com, biasboba.com, where you can actually support us financially. That's really the biggest thing, especially because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are highly considering going on a winter break starting November. However, if we can have people between now and October contribute on biasboba.com, every 20 cups of boba that you contribute, we will produce an episode for you in the off season. So something to think about in regards to how you can support us. There's other ways too, but that's the first one that can come to mind and all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your support. Okay, and so now I already have to correct myself. I meant to say Isabella De Las Alas. So Isabella, thank you for your grace. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. I just replied to your email. See, y'all, I'm like literally doing this right now as I'm recording, so you're welcome. But yeah, Isabella De Las Alas, thank you so much. I'm going to shoot you a text as well, just so you know you got my email. And all right, let's keep going through these emails, y'all. All right, moving on to the voice messages that have been left in our phone number. I hope by now you have memorized our phone number. I feel like I've repeated it enough for you guys to be like, okay, Jen, I know the number. It's 415-484-8329. Okay, just stop. I saved it. It's on my phone. And if that's the case, then good. I'm glad. It worked. No, the repetition worked. Anyway, you can't tell, but I took about 45 minutes to work on this next response. So I think it's worth giving a shout out to this listener. So I want to give a shout out to Rica Panelo, also goes by Rica Casper. Please, Rica, correct me if you have already gotten married and changed your name. I'm sure you'll be telling me all about it in the next email. But shout out to Rica. We have been talking in the recent months, especially starting in May. And girl, you just send me novels upon novels of your life and what you're going through and how the show has touched you. And Nani and I have been responding in novels as well. So, of course, this is a private message, but some things that stood out to me that I thought was worth sharing. I love how you shared in one of the messages that it's wonderful to hear our stories here on the Filipino American Woman Project from Filipinas, realizing that you're not alone in your insecurities and struggles. I mean, we talked a lot. We talked about hair color, being in an interracial marriage, the in-laws, which, I could definitely relate to a certain level, having myself being married to a white man, could definitely relate to a lot of things that you had shared. And, just talking about family and siblings and what have you, I just want to thank you, Rica, for just being so transparent with us. And in turn, I have disclosed some things in my email as well to you about what is going on in my life. So just thank you so much. I hope that your wedding plans are going well. If you got married already, congratulations. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. And I hope that you listen to this episode. But yes, I hope that you're doing well. And thank you so much for your support and your ongoing engagement with us via email. Once again, you all can email us at either jen@tifaproject.com or nani@tifaproject.com. Typically, it would be ideal if you include us both, because even if you include one of us, we end up CCing the other one. So might as well include us both in your emails. Okay, so you're not going to believe this, but hopefully you will. I have been going through all of your listener feedback for hours today. I'm so glad I had this chance to do that. Okay, so just so I made sure I cleared up everything or I caught up everything, I went through all of our text messages, our voice messages, and our emails. Now, with the other social media platforms, if you have messaged us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or what have you, just know that we don't often check those. And so I highly, highly, highly encourage you, can't emphasize it enough, that if you want to engage with us and get our attention, our phone number is one of the fastest ways to do it, or one of the best ways. I wouldn't say fastest, obviously. 415-484-8329, as well as our emails, jen@tifaproject.com and nani@tifaproject.com. Whew. Well, wow, that was a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I want to thank you all again for your continuous support. Thank you for making yourselves feel seen. I know I've said thank you a million times, and obviously if Nani was on the show right now, she would have something articulate to share as well. But just thank you all so much. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say for now. So love you all, and we'll chat with you in the next episode. Tune in next time.